those topics.
I'd be interested to hear what Councillor Lee's view on how we approach it, considering we've got 3 papers there.
Cool. Thank you. Now we've got public input from Quiet Sky Waiheke, Kim Whitaker, kia ora. And we'll just get you to press the button on the right. I know you're used to this room. Kia ora, Kim.
Kia ora. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee, for once again allowing me to speak on behalf of Quiet Sky Waiheke in support of the NOM being tabled by Councillor Lee. I only got off a plane yesterday after a 24-hour flight from Europe, so if I'm less polite and more blunt than I should be, please blame it on the jet lag. As I'm sure you are all aware, about a month ago in Normandy they celebrated the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Today is D-Day for this committee. Is it either going to be decision day or once again do nothing day? It's also D-Day because I think it's about democracy. It's a day that you can demonstrate that this committee is made up of people who believe in democratic principles and are not just going to enable, once again, a minority of small people to literally fly roughshod over the majority of people. The wishes of the majority are very clear. In August 21, Quiet Sky Waiheke presented a petition to this committee calling for something to be done about the proliferation of helipad consents on Waiheke. For that petition, we collected 1,400 names in less than a week. And sadly, those calls for changes have effectively been ignored, and we have even more helipads on Waiheke now than we had then. We just heard again, the 4,000 people have signed up for the petition from Waitemata. People are pissed off. It's crystal clear. The vast majority of people do not want helipads for non-essential use being consented in their neighbourhood. And they don't want the peace and quiet ruined by helicopters constantly flying overhead. In the case of the Gulf Islands, we don't even have the possibility of formally objecting to the possibility of a consent for a helipad. It's not hard to understand why people are feeling aggrieved and they feel this is a totally undemocratic process. It would also nice, instead of getting tied up in a lot of qualitative and definitive planning jargon and obscure rules, if we just apply some common sense. I'm sure all of you have been near a helicopter when it's landed. You all know, you don't need to be an expert on acoustics. You don't need to know whether it's 80 decibels or 50 decibels. We all know it's an unbelievably intrusive noise. And we also all know it's complete rubbish when the effects of a helicopter landing are described as minor, or it's commuting by helicopter can be compared by your neighbour commuting home by car or by bicycle. Or that when you average out the sound of a helicopter, it's no louder than the lawnmower. It's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. So please, later on you'll be hearing, I know, from the views of your planning department. If it's anything like the previous occasions where these issues have been raised, they will concentrate on telling you what can't be done, not what can be done. They will be recommending that you will do as little as possible. If you've had time to look at the post that's up on the Quiet Sky, put up on the Quiet Sky website that I sent you all a link to yesterday, and I apologise if you've all been inundated in your email inboxes, but in that you will find a very clear timeline and summary of how the planners' approach of delay, deferral, and deference to the helicopter lobby has resulted in a rocketing number of helipads on Waiheke. We now have nearly 70, and there are more in the pipeline. More helicopters mean more complaints. The council's own figures show that on a per capita basis, there have been 88 times as many complaints, so on a per capita basis, about helicopters from Waiheke residents as there are from the whole of the rest of Auckland. Following the decision over Rowini Avenue, unless you support the NOM today, you'll be in the same position. You will be having a landslide of helipad applications and a landslide of complaints. You'll be wasting more time. So, there's also the impact, of course, on the natural environment, especially on the precious and endangered species of the Hauraki Gulf and around the Auckland foreshore. As we've seen from the recent hearing and from the suggested changes to the Hauraki Island District Plan, the impact on wildlife are just not being considered. The New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement is just not being given effect to. So, what more can I say? Please, use common sense. Don't let the planning department twist you around their little fingers. Make the right democratic decision and vote in favour of this NOM. And don't let this be another do-nothing day. And if believing in democracy makes me a lefty wanker, then I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just no one around this table would call you that, or definitely I wouldn't, but just if we can...
Has been rumoured that it has been said by somebody sits around this table.
But yeah, just to maybe to start the day, because we have seen these meetings sometimes turn, if we could just keep the language, you know, I understand the passion.
I apologise to jet lag, Mr. Chairman.
I'm more talking to those around the table. It might be an allergic reaction, so we just need to make sure. Kia ora, so there are questions. Councillor Fletcher.
It appears your jet lag has energised you, so thank you.
Well, we hope so. I might fall asleep in a moment.
There are some who have said to me that this is all about the politics of jealousy. And I have been dismayed by that attitude because as someone who has had sand in my eye and caused me to have surgery, I do know the impact that helicopters can have in terms of disturbance. So when I try and anticipate how that might have an impact on ecology within our beautiful Hauraki Gulf, it makes me feel that there's probably more to it. What evidence do you have on Waiheke of, is there any work that DOC has undertaken to the impact that this has actually had on landings and takeoffs? Is there any more information that you might have?
If you're referring to the impact on wildlife, I presented a number, I think the last time I came, we had a report done by an environmental expert, which was a review of all of the research that was done around the world about the impact of helicopter movements on wildlife. It's conclusive. One of the things is they can't even tell just how much impact it has, but there is not any evidence to show that it doesn't have any impact. And again, apply common sense. I've been lucky enough to be out on a kayak around Waiheke and watch the reaction of birds when helicopter comes in. Again, we have to apply common sense. You could see on the video the amount of downdraft. We can tell what impact that would have on a kid on a sailing boat or on a small bird trying to take off.
Well, as I say, I can speak with personal experience on a sand particle in my eye.
Of course.
My second question to you relates to how frustrated do you feel the community is in having to continue to keep participating in these processes?
On the Richter scale, I'd say it's about a 10. People are fed up on Waiheke. We just don't see, we've tried, I've been here, it's the third time I've been here, and talking to people on that, they keep saying, well, why has nothing changed? People are unbelievably frustrated. Every time a helicopter goes over, people are annoyed. And it's not just about them landing. It is a constant flow of helicopters when you're enjoying a quiet afternoon in the garden. So, yeah, people are incredibly annoyed and frustrated. Like I say, I've been back for just over a day, and 3 people have mentioned things to me and said, is something going to happen this time?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Leone.
That was actually similar to what I was going to ask. But I guess the other thing that I am wondering if you've got an idea of is, I mean, obviously from our side, we know that there'd be a amount of money that we'd have to look at putting into the work of doing a plan change. But do you have any indication on, for example, the costs that have gone into community on the resources to push back and obviously advocate for the work that you're doing through environmental court and things like that? I mean, it's something that you may not have an answer to, but that's just something I'm trying to get my head around as well.
And I think it's sad that this is coming back to money again. Because what we're seeing is if you've got money, you get your way. Why should the community have to put up money to maintain the status quo? And I've been in this room when it's been said, oh, we have to be very careful. We can't upset the helipad owners because they have deep pockets. That's not democracy. What's democratic about that? Nothing.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Watson.
Yes, so thank you for your lively presentation. And in that presentation, you referred to, I think, common sense, or made some sort of reference to that. For some of the councillors like myself who are sort of out of this area, and I look at the figures, I think you mentioned 64 on Waiheke and, you know, others.
Aotea Great Barrier is also now getting more and more.
Yeah, so what's the cumulative effect of that? Because I assume there can be a seasonal component to this too, you would assume during the summer and whatnot, and it's sounding like, you know, an episode out of MASH or some sort of military base. Is that a reasonable kind of assumption?
I mean, yes, it varies, and it varies depending where you are. I mean, there's somebody I know who in one afternoon counted 14 helicopters going over their house. And, I mean, recently I was up in the mountains in Bavaria, and a helicopter was 10 kilometres away. And still, the noise was disruptive. Now, the reason, and one of the things that's very important to understand, is about the acoustic environment. If you're in a place that you expect to be quiet and peaceful, such as the mountains, even the sound of a helicopter 10 kilometres ago is disruptive. So when you have them flying over, and Waiheke is not meant to be at the end of the Auckland airport. It's an island in the Hauraki Gulf. It's a sanctuary, and it is being ruined by the flights of helicopters. So it's something that's very hard to quantify, but every time a helicopter flies over, it is disturbing. And we get them in the summer regularly. And I'm not even very close to a consented habitat. We get all of the ones flying into the vineyards come within a kilometre of my house. I can hear very clearly every helicopter.
Thank you. Councillor Lee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Whitaker, and thank you for turning up after a very long journey from Europe. I think we, people of Waiheke, appreciate you doing this. Can we assume then, from what you were saying, we've heard from the 4,000 or so people who signed the petition in Waitemata, that people on Waiheke, despite the palliatives and the little plane changes here and there and the concessions here and there is growing frustration at the private use of helicopters on the island. A new consent issued, I believe, this week, So it makes a new consent.
Yep, a new one has gone through, another one in the pipeline.
So that's 65. So frustration at the intrusive effects of helicopters, but also frustration, cynicism, some anger, though a lot of it internalised, some depression in the community about the failure of the council and government, local government as an entity to deal with the problem. The local board is doing its best. The councillor is doing his best, but actually the machine is not responsive. Could I interpret your remarks in the tone of them as expressing frustration?
I don't think you could put it better, the word frustration. We held a meeting, we've gone to the CAA, we had the head of CAA in my living room discussing these issues. It got us nowhere. We've gone through the local board has fought on our behalf and with us, people like yourself, and the people are totally frustrated. Personally, I have given up 3 years going. I feel that there's no further that I can go. There's no more we can do. We have gone down every democratic avenue and we are constantly stopped. Any tiny little plan change we think might make a difference, we find we have to fight to get it through. I mean, things, again, common sense. How can you, and we did manage to achieve this with the noise level. In the past, they averaged the noise of a helicopter over 7 days. When a helicopter lands, you don't think, oh, that's not too bad if I think over it 7 days. It's a joke. So, no, people are incredibly frustrated and annoyed, and I'm afraid don't believe that this committee is serving their needs. I'm sorry to say that, Chairman, but that's how people feel.
Thank you. And yes, I agree on the 7 days. That's why this committee changed that rule.
But it's still averaged over 24 hours. A helicopter doesn't take 24 hours to land. It still doesn't make any sense.
Thank you. Councillor Bartley.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to ask, I think the issue seems to be how we get there, because I don't think anybody wants a helicopter landing right next door to them.
I'm sure you don't.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, how we get there. And in item 11, it does have some options of how we get there. And it seems like the notice of motion being a high bar to reach for prohibited activity may not be a sustainable, achievable solution. So do you have any thoughts on how we can get there to make it a proper solution that sticks rather than a Band-Aid that's going to be undone later down the track?
I mean, I should point out that we are supporting the notice of motion, particularly on behalf of the people of Auckland, because very few of our helipads are in urban areas. We're not an urban area. So we have different rules applied to us because we're the hierarchy different district plan. I'm not a planner. And I'm sure, like myself, we get incredibly confused by all the jargon and the terminology. And what most people want, that's why I said common sense, is we want the common sense to prevail and for helipads not to be consented in urban areas, in urban or in the rural areas of Waiheke. We don't want the endangered species we know the Hauraki Gulf wildlife is in danger. And we don't want yet more things doing to diminish that population. And I do understand, yes, it's complicated, but you have to find somehow a route through it. When we hear from the plan, we always find it's deferred. It was in 2017, they said, oh yes, it will be reviewed when the Hauraki Gulf Island District Plan gets incorporated into the Auckland Unity Plan. What has that meant? It's meant that we have had 8 years and another, however many it is, a doubling of helipads on Waiheke. You can understand our frustration.
Yeah, 100% understand, 100%. Yeah, for non-essential in a residential area, understand. I also support the police with their, helicopter use. Cool, I get that, but I know where you're coming from. I'm just trying to seek some guidance from you of how we get there. And your
Well,
thoughts on
at the
item
very
11.
least, we would like the opportunity for the general public to be notified when a helipad consent was being applied for in Waiheke. That would be a start. And it doesn't just affect the neighbours, it affects everybody because the helicopters don't just magically appear at the helipad, they fly over my house.
Yeah, far out. Okay, cool, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much
Thanks,
for
Mr.
coming again, and appreciate all the work that you're all doing
Yeah.
on this issue. And
I'll apologise for my impoliteness, Mr Chair.
it wasn't impolite, it was passionate, but I'm just warning the committee that some of those words were... Right, I think... Do we already have a mover and a second? Councillor Lee and Councillor Fletcher. All those in favour?
That's three now, Mr Chairman. I feel I'm on a roll.
Yes.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Well, the next one I think is also likely to be moved by you. So right, the local board input, I think we had Izzy first up.